So, and I can't imagine you've ever thought about this before, so this will be a brand new question. What would your wrestling gimmick be?
Unlocking 5-year-old Sean here. My wrestling gimmick, it has to be something obnoxious because I feel like it has to be me dialed up to 12.
Right.
Okay, I want to, let's go to the 90s when every gimmick was a different kind of occupation. They were very occupation focused.
Yes.
So there was Dr. Isaac Yankum, who was the dentist. What's an obscure occupation that I could take? Because
shit.
The dog catcher. But
the dog catcher.
And I call my enemies the mutts. The mutts. Yeah. Or maybe my fan base are my mutts because I capture their hearts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go. This is already absolutely fully formed. And is this the kind of character where audiences are going to cheer or boo when he emerges on stage?
I feel like at first I'm a very lovable, endearing chap, and then there's going to be a heel turn when I actually start kenneling dogs. Like I make it real. On stage, grab them from the audience.
Let's bring your dog session. We're going to have a nice session so that it will be dog friendly. The noises will be turned down and there won't be quite so much screaming. And then you just come around capturing all the dogs.
I feel like it lasts about a year before, it runs its course.
Everyone's like, yeah.
It's not really a very 2023 2023 gimmick.
No. Well, you take a year off, you come back as a different,
What about you? What would the Paul Salt gimmick of the year be?
Well, it'll have to be some sort. I'll be the film director. I'll wear the little black like film director's thing. And
you got the clapper,
like Goddard. Yeah, the clapper. I could clap like someone. It make it so it seems like I've caught someone's nose in it, and they're just like.
But then you know what? If you got to do take 2 straight after. Take 2. It's your finishing maneuver.
It looks like I'm getting beat, but like I'm gesturing to someone off stage, and then suddenly a big IMAX camera just swings down from the rafters and takes them out.
James Cameron's your tag team partner.
Take it, Jimmy!
Hell yeah, we've got our tag team. The director and the flea bag.
The director.
The director.
And I keep directing like the camera filming the event to check out my excellent moves.
You always know where to look.
I like framing the guy as he's lying on the canvas bleeding. You see, I think we should start a wrestling league.
The OGTW.
The OGTW. That actually sounds good. It has a ring to it.
just don't say what it because the one good thing wrestling.
Well, I watched North, and I have my list of good things. Oh no, sorry, the podcast has actually changed since the last time you were on. Oh, what is it now? Hello, and welcome to One Good Thing, the podcast that knows very well that just because it's your dream doesn't make it right or noble or whatever.
Uh-oh.
I'm Paul Bandini, and we're not trapped in the ring with Recommendations Month. Recommendations Month is trapped in here with us.
Oh.
And how better to finish the sucker off than with one of our absolute favourite members of Roltercast, top 5 anyway. It's Sean Flierl. Sorry, Flierl. I wrote your name wrong.
Try that again.
Sorry,
wait, what do we go with?
It's Sean Flierl.
Sean Flierl. Thank you, Paul Paul Seltzer. Oh, that's your wrestling name, Paul Seltzer.
No, just a really annoying old gimmicky clown.
Thank you very much for having me. I think this is I think now I'm neck and neck with Ellen again. I was the reigning champion of most OGT appearances, and then Ellen got a double billing in, and now I'm right back in the game, baby.
Well, I might just happen to know that this is your 11th appearance on OGT.
Ooh.
So, yeah, we missed your 10th. We missed number 10, but I think you picked a good movie for it last time. So
I think that was an appropriate. That was Turtles.
That was Turtles, and I think that was a good one to have as your 10th. And this feels like a number 11. You know, it's back to work Monday.
Yeah. I think about age 11.
Yeah. Because, yes, Sean has suplexed me right into a half Nelson or something by making us watch the 2000 wrestling comedy movie Ready to Rumble.
Gordy and Sean had dead-end jobs.
People always said I was a dreamer, an idiot, and a waste of life, and I will never amount to anything. Hit me, baby, one more time.
No luck with the ladies.
Brittany, let's go out again. We'll talk about me and you. Dude, you're in there.
And no one to look up to.
Freeze! Your sister shot her first perp today. That's nice, Gabby.
But at least they had a hero.
Jimmy King is the greatest wrestler of all time.
Wrestling's fake.
Wrestling's not fake!
Now these dreamers
Me and my associate, we're on a quest to find King. It's him! King!
will go to any length and do whatever it takes to put their king back on his throne. Ready to rumble.
The film was directed by Brian Robbins, who looks like a David Cross character, I think.
Oh my god.
And he previously directed Good Burger and would go on to direct Norbit and Meet Dave. An odious rise to power is what we've got here.
Good Burger, is that the Keenan and Kel or the Kel film?
Yes, and apparently he once appeared in an episode of Keenan and Kel, but I didn't have the time to chase that down and find out who he played.
Neither did I.
I was fairly familiar with Keenan and Kel.
God, that makes
But
so
yes,
much
he directed
sense.
Good Burger. It does, actually, if you think about it. It really tracks. What if instead of trying to implement the perfect burger sauce, they were actually just trying to throw guys through canvas?
Keenan and Kel trying to become professional wrestlers would have been an incredible film. I'd watch that.
Oh, shit, that's actually quite good.
Yeah.
Okay, this film is now the result of unfortunate casting.
Here we go.
Do you think either of them would have gotten on better doing the publicity for this movie, which we will come to, but do you think that would have gone down any better?
I think so, and I think there's also like a missed opportunity there that you could do some sort of orange soda wrestling tie-in. I don't know what the crossover is between wrestling fans and Keenan and Kel fans, but it has to be high, surely.
I'm assuming it's substantial.
I'm
assuming that
one of
Keenan and
them.
Kel starts people off. Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. There's a proven market here of Sean.
Many Seans.
Meanwhile, it was written by Stephen Brill, who wrote the three Mighty Ducks films, I think, before becoming a solid Sandler scribe, writing Little Nicky, for which he was nominated for Worst Screenplay and Worst Director. He directed that one
Good
at
on
the
him.
Razzies. Mr. Deeds, The Do-Over, Sandy Wexler, and a Hubie Halloween.
I'm sorry, a what?
I don't know what... a Hubie Halloween. I think Hubie is a Sandler thing. It's an aspect of the Sandler lore that I have not investigated.
It's part of the Sandlerverse.
Jesus. You know, people in my film class are always talking about, no, Sandler's so underrated because of, like, Punch Drunk Love and Uncut Gems and something he did this year, which I haven't seen. And it's like, watch a Hubie Halloween and then get back to me on this. Watch any of the things that we've watched for OGT that has Adam Sandler involved and then come tell me how much you enjoy Adam Sandler.
I think he's underrated. I just think he's incredibly lazy. But that's for another podcast.
That's true. That is true. Yes, we mustn't talk too much about Adam Sandler here. Oh, also the writer directed movie 43, Wretched.
Ooh, which you have done. You've seen it, so I don't have to.
Yep, absolutely. It was a joy. There's a rancid little cadre of assholes at the heart of all of these movies, just lurking in the background of things like Emperor Palpatine.
Name of my autobiography. Rancid, what was it? A rancid cavalcade of...
a rancid little cadre of assholes.
Yes, that's amazing.
There's nothing really interesting about the production except that Oliver Platt accidentally punched Randy Savage in the face. So,
oh my goodness, sir! I have so much for you in production. That's just from the wrestling nerd in me. I don't know. Are you aware of the legacy that this film holds post the film?
I'm only aware of the legacy of the publicity. So, all right, tell us about the production of the movie first. What have you got on that?
Oh, that's kind of what I'm referring to more so.
Oh,
I
okay,
mean,
right.
Yeah. So
I was planning on handing over to you for the publicity for the film because I think you might know more about this than me.
It's also just wonderful, like partially a big part of the reason that I picked this film is I was kind of excited to think, what does it sound like for Paul Salt to talk about anything wrestling related? I just wanted to hear that and witness it.
You've witnessed already, I think, the extent of my wrestling knowledge.
I heard suplex.
Yep, I said that. I also said half Nelson, which I think is a thing, or at least it's a thing in wrestling. I don't know if it's
It's very hard to transition from a suplex to a half Nelson.
But
there is a half Nelson suplex.
You could chuck. Ooh, there you go. I think you could chuck someone into someone else's waiting half Nelson.
But yeah, no, I didn't get much from the production other than like obviously it's a direct tie-in because both WCW, which is the company that is in the movie, but is also was a genuine real life company, was owned by Warner or AOL Time Warner, which is also responsible for the film. So there's a direct correlation there, obviously, which is a big part of the publicity.
World Championship Wrestling, right? And was this a spin-off from? I mean, look, as someone who doesn't watch it, I've heard of formerly WWF, then WWE, because of the World Wildlife Fund, which is still one of my favorite things in the world.
Yes, the basic layman's rundown of it is like wrestling from its carnival roots, especially in the 70s and 80s, at the latter point was very much a territorial thing. So you could go to like, the Midwest, the Deep South, blah, 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 and there'd be like select territories. So it wasn't this massive mainstream thing. Everything was very much kind of localized within their territories. The WWF, when it went public, became the first kind of big conglomerate, and that was by Vince McMahon, who's often in the spotlight for various nefarious reasons. Anyway, but the first time that anyone tried to truly compete on a global scale with Vince and the then WWF was WCW, because it was backed by Ted Turner.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay,
Ted Turner basically created WCW and backed it through Time Warner, and that's basically, it was just a big television company backed by a millionaire that wanted to could throw as much money as it could. And during the 90s, when wrestling had its big boom period, you did have two companies that were head to head for a long period of time. So when this came out in 2000, this is its last full year in existence before it got bought out by WWF.
Wow. Okay. Oh, okay. So it got absorbed into WWF.
Yeah, weirdly enough, like, because they filed for they filed for a dissolution or whatever the technical term is, and WWF were the buyers basically.
Right. There is some competition nowadays though, right? Because one thing I do see on television a lot is All Elite Wrestling, which seems to be on more prominently than WWE in this country for some reason. I don't know if WWE is all hidden behind a paywall.
Well, also it's the difference between, I guess, well, in America anyway, it's on TNT, or now TBS, which was cable, but TNT was satellite TV, which is weirdly enough the same channel that WCW used to be on 20 years before. Oh,
okay.
So it's another, like, TNT is Turner again. So I don't know if it's. Look, dude, I could do a whole like dry podcast around professional wrestling law, but I don't think your OG people, OG people assemble.
Well, okay, so let's focus on this then. So they decide they're going to make a movie with David Arquette and James Caan's son.
Scott Caan. Yeah.
In the movie. So then they decide that they're going to involve these two, but not even their characters from the movie, but actually the actor David Arquette. They're going to involve him in the storyline of the WCW for... one thing I could never find out is how long this went on for. What the time period of this story was.
Not very fucking long. The first weird thing about it is they don't use Scott Caan. It's just David Arquette that's brought in there. And they align him with Diamond Dallas Page, because in the real WCW, Diamond Dallas Page, who's the villain of the movie, if you're following along, people, is a good guy at that point in the real WCW.
Oh, I see.
They want David Arquette as a face, a good guy. So they're aligned together. And also they then decide, as a publicity stunt or for whatever fucking reason, hey, how about we legitimately put the title on David Arquette, which even David Arquette didn't want.
No, he said it was a bad idea because it would cheapen the whole thing.
And it did.
Yeah, well, evidently.
And they made the fucking massive structure as well. They made that match in real life. Yeah, it's a triple cage. It existed.
Triple cage, that was it. Oh, Jesus. The only time I want to see Triple Cage is if they make a sequel to Face Off eventually.
Oh, yes. With Keanu Reeves as well.
Oh, fuck me. What a situation. They're actually remaking it, and I have no idea who they're going to get to star in now, other than Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
I really would just want the same two people, really.
Yeah, exactly. But what I love is just how poorly received this was, because the Wikipedia page for the event says... The storyline was poorly received, damaging Arquette's reputation both as an actor and with wrestling fans. It has since been described as one of the worst moments in pro wrestling and a publicity stunt gone wrong, forever associated with the death of WCW. WCW went out of business 10 months after the Slamboree event, and the Arquette storyline is often seen as a contributing factor to it in its decline. 6 children died as a result of David Arquette pretending to beat up large men, and the cure for cancer has been delayed by up to a generation. I may have made up that.
To all of
It's
that, basically, yes.
It's so dramatic.
It's wonderful, Paul. The last year, like WCW in 2000 is a dumpster fire of car crash television at its finest. Like,
was all of this a desperate attempt? Were they struggling with ratings or something?
yeah, by this point, yes, because there was a
Right.
period of time during 1999 especially, where they went, so between 98 and 99, if I'm getting my months correctly, they went 87 weeks uninterrupted where they would beat WWF in the ratings. They were
Wow.
considered the higher company. But as soon as they lost that edge, as soon as WWF came back on top, they never recovered, and they just went on
God.
decline until it went into a fire. Like, Jay Leno wrestled in a match for WCW.
That's amazing. Did he drive in on one of his cars?
He skidded in on his chin.
Very hard to floor that chin. Oh, God. It was all worth it, though, all of it, because the film was received by critics like a truckload of actual shit on the interstate. John Hartle at the Seattle Times said, "The entire movie is essentially an attempt to fill silence." An existentially troubling review there. Isn't
Oh
all
my
things?
God. Who was the reviewer?
John Hartle.
We need to do a welfare check on him. Is he
Yeah,
okay?
let's look in on John Hartle, whether or not he succumbed to the silence that he
I'm just
feared
trying
so
to fill the
terribly.
silences in my life now.
Since she left. Oh, God, he's tragic. Public, meanwhile, felt like they were driving the truck full of ass juice. Meme Fat Boy over on Google said the entire. Oh shit! Where's Meme Fat Boy's review? Because that's.
Oh no!
It looks like I pasted it, but it still had the previous thing on the clipboard because it says the entire movie is essentially an attempt to fill silence. Which I don't think.
I thought you were gonna. You made it sound like you recognized who this person was. You're like, oh, that was me. I wrote that review.
I'm Meme Fat Boy. I've googled Meme Fat Boy, which isn't going to help me. I need to Google Ready to Rumble.
Is it meme or meme?
No, it's Meme. It's Memey.
Oh, yeah, that
It
is.
could be Mimi.
Mimi
It could
Fat
be
Boy?
Mimi Fat Boy, it could well be. It's okay, because there are about 6 Google reviews, so this will not take me long to find. There we go. His
Beautiful.
review actually was not about the deafening silence, which we are all trying to remove from our lives. He just says, it's bunghole.
Oh, that
Yeah.
feels like a line that would have been in the film.
Meme Fat Boy or Mimi Fat Boy from the movie. Cipher from the Matrix himself, Joe Pantoliano. Excuse me, I keep calling him Pantaleone, but it's Pantoliano.
Pantaleons.
Pantaloons. Joe Pantaloons was, better than he needed to be in this, Pluto Nash, and Congo, a terrible movie, which everybody was great in.
Yeah.
The recurring thread of everyone in Congo is that everybody was doing way better than they deserved. Laura Linney, Tim Curry, Delroy Lindo, Ernie Hudson. Like, that movie had a great cast doing good work, but it was not a good film.
Is Congo the gorilla film?
Yes.
Wow, that's a flashback. Funnily enough, I know when I watched that, it was in the year 2000.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh, it all bridges
Yeah.
together, you see, fans.
It's in the Congo WCW universe.
Amy would have been an interesting choice for wrestlers. For a promotional thing. We're just going to use this event to promote movie and have the stars from the latest blockbusters come in. And the not so latest in the case of Congo, which is now 5 years old in this timeline.
Oh, goodness.
Come together and wrestle each other. That's not a bad idea. Seeing as a lot of our blockbusters now star professional wrestlers, that would be... okay.
I need to... One day I'm going to pick your brain about Dave Bautista. He's a lovely treasure of a man.
He's a beautiful man. He's got a beautiful soul. And I really like the way he came out and just said, I never wanted to be The Rock. I wanted to be a great actor, which is such
Yeah,
great
I love
low-key
that.
shade.
As
at
a
The Rock.
lifetime wrestling fan of The Rock, I gobbled that sentence up with
Yeah.
glee. Oh, it was lovely.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, God. And the last thing I saw The Rock in was Black Adam, which I hated. So.
Oh, I still haven't seen that.
Oh, I really hated that one. That was one of my least favorite films of the year. Good Lord. But, speaking of Three-Man, Greg Collins is in this as crusty veteran cop in some scene. and was also in Gone in 60 Seconds as San Pedro Cop before he got crusty. Even though that film was after this one, I think. And
Smooth.
he played Soldier on the Bridge in Godzilla.
So he knows his typecast.
He does, and presumably he was one of the men who sort of watched Godzilla poignantly die after an hour of trying to kill him.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of him eating the fish. Well, I've got 2 of his films then.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I've
finally,
got Godzilla too. You're welcome.
finally, Phil Horn, meanwhile, was uncredited in this as an attorney. Which when?
An attorney.
An attorney.
Was there a wrestler that had an attorney gimmick?
Or it's just a member of the crowd. He's an attorney.
I'm the law.
In his day job. I am the law. Yeah, Sylvester Stallone as attorney. But also, he was in Inspector Gadget, where he played an ice cream man, and Wild Wild West, where he played formal guest at Masquerade Ball. So that's 2 of yours have yielded 3 men.
I'm bringing you all the veterans of your show back together.
There's a network. There's a cadre of assholes who connect all of your films. Ready to Rumble has 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, 5.3 on IMDb, 72% on the hellscape that is Google, and made $12.5 million on a $24 million budget, which is bad.
Oh, wow. They expected it to be a success, by the way.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
How could it not be?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. So, Sean, you friggin' moron! What's one thing about Ready to Rumble that made you want to lose a nut?
Because it is a wrestling film that I've never seen before. It's like I've never ever seen this film, and I know more about the real life aftermath of this film. Like it's such a cultural touchstone for me, and I have such a clear understanding of like what came after this and the impact that it had 20 years in the future. But I'd never seen the actual goddamn thing because I knew I would fucking hate it.
Wow! Before today.
Yeah. This is
Holy shit.
An hour ago is the first time I've ever watched this film.
Good Lord. I did not appreciate that.
Also because I'm a lifelong wrestling fan and I work for a wrestling company as well. So I was just very intrigued to see how much was it them paying homage, if at all, and how much was it them having just a clear misunderstanding of wrestling and wrestling fandom and wrestling culture. Which very much was that, right? Like it's always very interesting to me to watch people engage with wrestling media and incorporate it in their stories, acting as if even now that people don't understand that it's fake. And that conversation, I'm always happy to have that conversation because I find it truly baffling and intriguing at the same time.
Yes, and there's definitely some interesting stuff going on here with that.
Oh, yes.
We shall get to that. Let's talk first about what happens in this era of filming. Because we start with just, this beautiful cinematic montage of just great wrestle men, whilst the narrator talks about some of them. Not the ones who are on screen as he says
Thank
them,
you.
But
Thank you.
Like, that was
weirdly,
weird.
One of them comes later. Like they say the person's name, and then the next 4 people later, it is them. But
and they
everything else
fade in just as he's saying names whimsically. Like it's like Andre the Giant, and then not Andre the Giant comes in, and it's like okay,
Andre the Giant later. It's
very weird.
Oh, I'm glad you got that as well, because that immediately we were on terse communication terms, me and this film, from that point onwards.
Do you think it genuinely got them wrong? It just didn't know who any of these people were and Googled it.
Yeah.
There's one large man above all others. The undeniable champion of all of the large men. When it comes to physicality, to charisma, to stage presence, watchability. And it is Oliver Platt.
I want to welcome you to the royal ass-kicking of Diamond Dallas Page. You want to see me make Diamond Dallas Page one of my ladies in waiting tonight? You want to see me take Diamond Dallas Page down into my dungeon and make him my medieval puppy dog bitch tonight? Yeah, that's what I thought, 'cause I'm the... Sing it, man! I'm king of rock, there is none high. Sucker MCs, call me sire.
I have many questions about his casting. I will say this. There is a character that you might know. I don't know if you'll know this name, but does the name Jerry Lawler ring a bell to you?
It does ring a bell. I don't know why.
Have you seen Man on the Moon, Jim Carrey?
Oh, yes, but like decades ago.
Okay, the wrestler that's associated with Andy Kaufman and that is Jerry Lawler, and I know that they're not trying to use.
Is that the character that, because I know Andy Kaufman did wrestling, right, and it was like anti-wrestling in the same way that Andy Kaufman did everything.
Yes, yeah, and so
Right.
the wrestler that he did a lot of things with was a wrestler called Jerry the King Lawler. This is,
Right.
I can tell you now, this is not an homage to Jerry the King Lawler. It's just coincidence, I'm going to say, but it is
Okay.
an example of a wrestler that doesn't clearly have the physical physique that one would expect from a wrestler.
I see, right.
And yet is still a household name, as it were. So I'll
Okay.
appreciate that much, but
Okay.
everything else, yeah.
That's
I'm not going
fair.
to defend Oliver Platt in this film.
Well, look, the person telling us all of this is revealed to be one of our two heroes, because we have got David Arquette playing Deputy Doofy from Scary Movie, and James Caan's beefy son, Scott Caan.
Called Sean, which I didn't realize until we started watching. Just
Ah, a lovely homage to you, wrestling's
Yeah.
greatest fan. And it's never too early to use the R word in your movie, so I appreciate that.
Oh, took them all of 1 minute. Straight away.
Who are they? Tell me about these guys and their life situation.
Oh, well, serious brain freeze. That icy sugar locked up my knock-knock.
Well, what about me, guy? I was thirsty too.
Oh, I'll get you a refill.
No, don't sweat it. Guy's a moron.
Nah, come on, I feel bad.
Hey, Gordy, why does it look like you have your finger in your butt?
'Cause it do.
Look, one's got a dead dad and is doing not much of else. And the other one has an alive dad, maybe a dead mum,
Yep,
has a sister, has a cop family, like a
Oh, I
very
think-
kind of... This is,
I think it might be implied that his mum is also a cop. Because when they're at the dinner table, right, aren't they all there
oh,
in
that was the
cop
mother. Of
outfit?
course it was.
I
It
think
wasn't just
so.
a random deputy. Of course not. Yeah, and so you've got... What's his name? So we've got Sean and we have David Arquette. I forget what David's name is.
David Arquette and Beefy Khan is what I'm going to be calling them.
Beefy Khan, great. Yeah, we David Arquette comes from a long line of cops and is expected for some fucking reason to be a cop himself, while
Yes.
Beefy Khan is just doing nothing really,
Yeah.
and they're both just lovable deadbeat guys that love wrestling and believe wrestling is real and true, and it's the only thing they have going for them. Yeah,
Yes,
maybe?
I'm pretty sure, because they're hanging out outside of a convenience store with some kids, trying to get them excited about wrestling, when the owner tells them to go away, and which prompts within David Arquette a fantasy sequence.
Which, like,
yeah.
I will just say right now, just to, like, put the cards on the table, maybe my favorite part of this entire film.
Yeah, there was hope there when that sequence happened.
Tag me! No, you're gonna get it! You mess with the Macho Man Randy Savage! I'm gonna get you, yeah! Bam! Bam! Bam!
Yeah, it was a lovely. I was like, oh, this is going to be like a, I don't know, like a Julie Taymor-esque, like kind of visual nightmare of a film.
Yeah.
And I was into that.
And Randy Savage was there, which is something. But get out of here, Randy Savage, you charismatic has-been. I'm all about Oliver Platt and David Arquette.
They can only afford me for 5 seconds.
Need a little excitement? Get me in for a few minutes.
I cost $3 million.
But yeah, Goofy, Doofy. I call him Doofy briefly. I forget to eventually. It'll go back to Arquette. Goofy has a It's Doofy. That was his name in the thing. Doofy has a cop dad who wants him to make something of his life, but he's happy, working with Beefy Khan as a toilet man.
Yeah, potty people.
Yep, and they also like hassling Daphne and Celeste after work, who are actually Kid Rock's actual sister and a proto Anna Kendrick.
No.
Yeah.
Hi, Gordy. Sean,
Hey, Wendy, where'd Brittany go?
she switched to cheese.
Hey, Brittany, how's the weather in there? Cold today? Hot tamale!
Leave me alone. Loser.
Actually, or is this a
No,
Paul
actually,
Zinger?
yeah. No, that's
fantastic.
Kid Rock's actual sister is Brittany, I think her name was.
Sister Rock.
Sister Rock is, working for a burger joint, and Scott Caan enjoys her, but she doesn't enjoy him back very much. However, Anna Kendrick likes him. This may become crucial later. It depends how detailed we make this. So
Yes,
yeah.
and also, in the film's defense, like they need both of them to have a love interest. It just needs to happen.
It has to happen. It is pretty much still the 90s after all. It only barely isn't. So we meet some more minor characters, and the Sandler-verse and Eddie Murphy-verse really does beckon for the creative team involved here.
Afternoon, Miss McKenzie. Ready for that big match tonight in Cheyenne?
Oh, yes, boys. Your Jimmy King is going to bitch slap Diamond Dallas.
Old lady who swears a lot. Love it.
Yeah, we in the first 10 minutes we get we get the hard R word, we get a whole lot of homophobia, we get a ton of butt jokes, and then we get just a bit of ageism in there as well to dash on top.
Anyway, you've all seen enough actual literal shit, so it's time for some wrestling. We end up at the event because they're very excited about this event, which is not pay-per-view, but does involve their favorite wrestler of all time. So they go there to take their mind off of their actual shit job. And
Jimmy King, for those.
Jimmy King, played by Oliver Platt. Oh, good. Rose McGowan is here to be objectified. There's something we can all feel good about. Rose
McGowan. Oh,
hey,
I never
Rose.
did get to watch Charmed.
Oh, it looks good though. As a big Buffy fan, I feel like Charmed would have been a good thing to have checked out. But unfortunately, it wasn't the show that my sister was into. That therefore, as a teenage boy, I could pretend to be watching because of bonding with sister. I was a very insecure boy, so it was just like, no, I'm watching this because of Lucy. Is that the character? Shut up, Lucy! Try to follow this. Willow's in trouble.
God. It's kind of very strange because this is the point of the film where everything goes so fucking off the rails that I need to catch myself. Because like immediately what they set up is that Jimmy King is the villain.
Yes.
This is what I get immediately. No, well, he turns up late, he's up himself, he doesn't give a shit. And then the other wrestlers are just like, oh yeah, we'll do whatever. That's fine. You don't want me to... Oh, that's fine. I'll let her know about it later. And then there's a bit of conspiring between Sleazy man.
Joe Pantoliano.
And Diamond Dallas Page.
Yes, who is a WrestleMan.
Yes.
All right, forget what I just told you. Remember I told you I'd take care of you?
Yeah.
All right? Tonight's your night.
Tonight.
Tonight.
Works for me, bro.
Who is a legitimate WrestleMan. That they're gonna, he's gonna sort you out. He's gonna be fine. And at this point, I'm like, oh yeah, that I don't like Oliver Platt at the moment. He seems like a very... So I'm already not where I'm meant to be in terms of the good guy, face guy dynamic.
Well, look,
so they have a... Yeah.
It's going to be a redemption arc, right? He's going to be an asshole up front. He's going to get what's coming to him, and then he's going to gradually work his way back up to power. Because, yes, in a shocking development, evil Pantoliano, reasonable good guy Pantoliano, is going to tell Diamond Dog Lewis, or whatever his name is, to...
Diamond Dog Lewis?
Diamond Dog Lewis,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's it. To use actual punches and other large men, both of which are discouraged in wrestling bouts, I imagine.
Yes. This is... I'm going to say this is a no disqualification match. The rules are flimsy. It's fine. It's fine. Hand wave it.
It's fine. So, yeah, they beat the shit out of him. And they all jump from different corners of the ring up from the ropes so that their heads land on him in a way that probably hurt him a bit. Probably hurt him more.
A four-post massacre.
And that's that. The men are heartbroken. Obviously, their king has been betrayed by his fellow WrestleMen.
And he is forbidden. He's verboten from wrestling ever again.
He is. He's verboten.
Which, I have questions about whether you can actually do that in someone's contract. But that's fine.
There's a clause. There's a clause that if John Pantoliano takes against you,
the
he
Santa
can banish
clause.
you. So, Jesus, I have to go and be sad and beat Tim.
I have to wrestle Tim Allen.
I'll do it. Oh, it's not mandatory. I'll do it. There's an extremely oddly paced sequence which sees the men crash their sewage van, and then a van full of toilet rolls smashes into it. Consequently, they get stranded on their way home, which leads to an epiphany.
To go to Atlanta and find him. How? We just will.
Yeah, we'll just.
We know the city is in. I'm sure there's a very easily accessed hackers website that we can find.
Yes, I'm sure there's a bunch of eccentric characters who will help us along our way. Starting with a van full of nuns that they ride to Atlanta with. Which is great.
And like they spend a lot of time with teenagers and kids that are Also one that is just, it's the most 90s hacker bullshit, and I love it.
Oh,
what is
yeah.
it? Hackersworld.com?
Yep. We get to meet... Yep, the police will never figure this one out. We've got,
Hackers Planet, yeah.
We've got Angelina Jolie doing the security on this thing, so everything's fine. So, yeah, we get a glimpse of some naughty's video game graphics and some internet stuff, which is just wonderful. Oh, and the muscly guy dances to Britney Spears.
Nah. The muscly guy. Little Khan.
Little Khan. Little muscly Khan. He dances around to Britney Spears, and we're all encouraged to laugh. Speaking of being encouraged to laugh at stuff that you feel a bit uncomfortable about, here's Oliver Platt's wife. Oh, it's Hilda from Sabrina. Oh,
I
dear.
know. I was.
Is he home?
What are you, high? He hasn't been home in 2 years. All I got to remember him by is an itchy crotch. You ever seen crabs up close? You want to see?
She has crabs.
The biggest thing she did post Sabrina,
God.
probably.
Oh, I hope not. I hope that I've missed some sort of excellent adaptation of a Beckett play or something that she did.
Yeah,
But-
you know what? It's not just penis jokes here on Ready to Rumble. There's crabs jokes. There's something for the ladies as well.
Yeah, and he's also Platt has a large son with braces, who I'm just realizing, does that at the end get resolved, or does he just punch his son out?
No, he punches his son out, and they have a very tenuous relationship going forward.
Okay, great. That's good stuff. So yeah, he's here and he's got large
new
braces.
sons.
Yeah. So he's got a wife with crabs and he's got a son with braces. So yeah, Adam Sandler and Eddie Murphy just seen in the corners like beckoning the director and writer.
Yes.
Come
Yes,
to
come
us.
here. We've got Kevin James already signed up. Let's go.
Your destiny. I don't know which one that was.
Come on.
This is how I really talk. It's Eddie Murphy. Oh God. So they do eventually find Oliver Platt in his trailer with long hair and pink glasses. So he's clearly a woman.
Oh no, it's a woman.
Yeah. But somehow
It's a
they manage to see
lady.
through his disguise and realize it's him. And he doesn't want to wrestle anymore, so they attack him. And it changes his mind. It's always worth
Which
a go,
does
guys,
work.
if you're negotiating. Yeah, try it.
Try it.
Sorry, we
10 out of 10.
We don't have any vacancies here. Are you sure? Ah! Oh, I like your
What about
moxie.
now?
I like it. I like how determined you are. You're in. You're CEO now.
No one's ever done this before, so, you know,
So you get in.
good on you. Keep me on my
Anyway.
toes.
More objectification, please. They go to what do they do? They sneak him in a porta
They sneak him
potty.
in a porta potty, which they have
Yeah.
like 20 of backstage, I guess. And it's, yeah. And they say, we'll get you in front of the right people, and when we yell and scream, that's when you can attack, which is what they
Yeah.
promptly forget to do.
Yes, absolutely. And they go and find a changing room full of nubile young ladies in skimpy underwear, which teens are going
I
to
think
love.
you'll find they are things. They are naked things. Many
bits.
naked things.
And I think all of the audience are going to, the teenage audience are absolutely going to love that, especially if you intercut it with David Arquette's drooling face at the same time. Oh, hey, Rose McGowan, you're here too. How's it going? How's all of this going for you? Oh, this is the same experience as most of the girls here. You're just one of the ones who spoke up. That's cool.
Yeah. Are you wildly uncomfortable, but you just have to kind of, put on a brave face and go on with it? Oh, okay,
That's
great.
what it feels like.
Yeah.
Excellent. We'll do the same. So Pantoliano is still keeping King's brand alive by referencing him frequently in the show, in spite of having kicked him off. Just kind
of wanting people to forget about him completely, but
also still bringing him up. God, how much time has passed? Oh, I guess they did actually. Yes, this must be just a few days after he's had him kicked off the show, because they immediately travelled from home to here and they haven't trained at all. So
no, not yet. So this is the next show after, and they're talking in a backstage section, and then he's just like, "Hey, you should probably say that live on air." Oh, we're live! And the camera just turns on.
Yeah.
So like that's flying by the seat of your pants, and I love it.
But
Yeah.
Pantoliano hates money, and so doesn't want to do the very obvious redemption story here, and just wants him out. But nevertheless, they convince him that, if you must, we'll do a hugely publicizable event in which your fate can be settled, and if you manage to grab a belt, then you can be head wrestler.
It
But
doesn't
if-
actually take much to convince him either.
No, it really
they
doesn't.
They didn't really need to kind of trick him into it. It's like, hey, do this thing. He's like, okay.
Yeah, it's Oliver Platt who gets tricked into it. He's the one who sort of
Yeah.
gets pressured into agreeing to doing this.
What?
But yeah.
A match? I never thought of that. Yes.
Oh, God. So to celebrate, they have a big party where Rose McGowan interacts with David Arquette and Oliver Platt falls into a sewer. It's very similar experiences for the two of them.
Yeah. And they know the sewers very well, so they find Platt again and they convince him again to train again.
Yes. So at this stage, my memory of what sequence the scenes go in are a bit interchangeable, but here's a list of things that happened before the big match.
Good, I can help you out.
They train with an old man.
Yes, in a dungeon apartment.
Sal Bandini. Want to wrestle?
Sal Bandini. Sir, it's a real honor.
Tap out, son.
Yes. Rose McGowan inexplicably comes on to David Arquette, but he tries to wrestle with her instead, and she likes it, and includes him punching her in the face.
I will now unveil my secret weapons.
Foreign objects!
And they still apparently have sex, but that's
Yes.
not clear.
No. They go to a gym and see some other wrestlers, including John Cena, apparently. I didn't spot.
Yes, he was in the background lifting one of the, I don't know what these are called. This is an audio medium, but he's on one of the pull-down machines. You can tell I use the gym regularly.
Yes, the old pulley down.
Back in, here you go, here's trivia for you. Back in the 2000, in the year of our Lord 2000, he was known as the
Actual year of our Lord.
Prototype.
Oh, okay, the prototype.
He was a half man, half machine.
Oh my God, is it because he had a bit of a resemblance to a young Arnie?
Yeah, a bit of that. And also he did actually transition, he tried to become a bodybuilder in LA before
Were you
transitioning
going to
to
say he
professional
did
wrestling.
transition into a machine? He was part cyborg, that's the story there.
He went from cyborg to full human.
Oh, it was a bicentennial man situation.
Do you believe me now?
Fuck me. Yeah, so they do that. They don't manage to get a wrestling partner there, but they do establish, obviously, the guy's going to show up at the end.
Yeah, Mr. Do you know his name?
No.
Yeah. Goldberg. Big bald Goldberg.
Big Bull Goldberg. Excellent. Best wrestler. So, yeah, some guys try to attack Old Man Wrestler, but he beats them up instead until they break a chair on him and he ends up in hospital.
Yeah, with severe concussion, I believe. Who knows? But yeah, he gives as good as he gets, but he is still like an 80-year-old man. So
yeah, he's still a very, very old man is the problem there. Rose McGowan turns out to be explicably dating David Arquette because she's really working for Pantoliano and for career progression. But he finds out and confronts her immediately, so it was a crazy ride whilst that lasted.
Yeah, it's a shame she didn't look around while she was taking that phone call, being in the same hospital room as David Arquette. No, I think we're fine. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's fine. He's an idiot. He's such a fucking idiot. Just don't worry about
He's in the next room. He can't hear that.
King reunites with his family and promises to do right by them.
Gets kicked in the nuts 3 times.
Yep, that's good. I enjoyed that.
Yep.
Arquette gets arrested by his dad and brought home and refuses to be busted out.
Yeah, he's decided to go straight, go on the straight path and become a cop himself.
Yeah, as opposed to a criminal wrestling man.
Oh,
they have the tryouts for his posse and end up with a cowgirl, a fireman, and a guy with no teeth. They will be in one shot later on.
They mystery men it.
Oh, that would have involved Kel being around, which would have been the absolute perfect situation. And then Beefy Khan has grown as a character somehow and ignores Kid Rock's sister in favor of the Proto-Kendrick as a sexual partner ahead of his final ascension to manhood.
Yeah, what was his reading? He's like, look, you were always pretty nice to me, so I guess I should have been nice to you. Let's fuck.
Yeah, let's just fuck. Turns out she's nasty. Yeah. The shy girls are all nasty folks at home, so go bother them, I guess.
or wrestle them. The mixed messaging is unclear.
It is. I'm sure it'll all turn out to be fine spiritually. Yeah, okay. Time for the match. Oh shit, we forgot to train! Ah!
Oh yeah, they do train. That's right, they do.
Do we see them train? I was trying to remember this. Like, I couldn't remember many montages of like Oliver Platt
beats up the country
training.
people. He beats up the country people, and then he goes for a jog.
Okay, well, he's trained. That's more than,
Yeah.
some of these guys have clearly ever done. So
He got
I'm
some
sure that's
cardio
fine.
in.
Yeah. Oh, come on now. One less chicken sandwich a week. He's on top form. He did eat the chicken sandwich, though, later. So, yeah, we meet some more wrestlers, which could very well be a plot summary of the rest of the movie. And, yes, Pantoliano psychs up some people.
Yes, he Sting is his name, but he basically says to Sting is like, "Oh, you're gonna do you wanna continue being here? You're
Yeah.
my insurance policy," and he doesn't respond because he's mysterious and spooky.
Oh, I got that.
But he's gonna do it. Then there's just a big fucking triple cage match.
Yes, there is. It's oh look, it's the famous announcer guy who says, "Let's get ready to rumble." David Byrne.
Yes,
The Talking Heads.
but he can't say let's. He can't say.
Can he not? Is that why he says it weird?
No. He said it weird because otherwise it wouldn't be the name of the film. He can't say "Let's get ready to rumble," like because he's meant to say, "Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble."
Yeah.
But he says it weirdly, where he says,
It's time to rumble. Or
Are
something.
you ready to rumble?"
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to rumble!
So he could really emphasize the "ready to rumble." It was just weird. It was odd. I wonder if there's a trademark on "let's get."
I wonder.
It just felt very odd, but that's not what you do.
Now, at this stage, and it is confusing, he introduces Platt and his opponent, who I think is called Kane. But there will later on be a guy in face paint who was also called Kane.
No,
So maybe I misheard.
Page. There's Diamond Dallas Page. Is
Right.
his. Yeah, the one that you called Diamond Lee Lewis, or I can't remember what you called.
Diamond Dog Days.
Yeah, Diamond Dog Lewis is Diamond Dallas Page, who was facing Jimmy King. But there's also a lot of people in masks. But Kane is a wrestler from the WWF who is now called Glenn Jacobs in real life and is the mayor of Knox County. He's a conservative politician.
Jesus Christ, it's amazing. The career opportunity, the career progression that wrestling can offer you is really quite something to behold. Jesus. So yeah, then wrestlers come out. There's a lot of large men, and I assume it's a big deal. But some of them you can't even see their face. So I do wonder if they're just being mixed in with just some extras.
They're all, pretty much every single one of them are named wrestlers that I know.
Good Lord, amazing.
In that ring alone, here you go. In that ring alone, there was Goldberg, Sting, Booker T, Juventud Guerrera, Diamond Dallas Page, and a whole bunch of other people. Bam Bam Bigelow was in there somewhere. Yeah, you know what? They're all there. That's why there's the big thing in the credits that just like everyone, himself.
Oh shit! Also here as one of the wrestlers somehow is Oliver. It's Oliver Platt's son.
Oh yeah, did he get approached by sleazy manager, or did he just decide to do it?
Well, look, this is not a very lockdown set because the next thing that happens is that David Arquette drives in on a cop bike and fucking rides into the ring. So,
fucking tears down the cage and almost commits vehicular manslaughter. This whole ending sequence is just guys trying to legitimately kill one another.
Yeah, and his cop dad just watches the TV and is like, nice. I taught you well,
I guess
son.
I do like it now.
Now that my son has recklessly endangered a whole bunch of people, I'm into
and is impersonating a cop.
When does Rose McGowan try to get back together with David Arquette? Because I've got that note now.
Yeah, in the ring, and then the whole gag is like, are you paying attention?
That's right.
Oh, so you got a ladder to the face.
Yeah.
I could never forgive you for what you did to Sal. You're a mean, mean lady. Sasha.
Shut up, Sean.
Sasha, you should
stand so close to the ring when there's a ladder match going on.
Hooray, she gets rejected and then hit in the face with a ladder. It's
what everyone wanted, apparently.
It's what I was hoping to see today. And there's another guy. No, the character called Kane now shows up, and the movie hasn't taught me who these people are. But King nearly gets to the top, and then he beats that guy, and then another guy shows up with a perm, who I think was one of the bad large men. and Perm gets knocked through all of the cages right down to the bottom.
Oh, that's Diamond Dallas Page. Yeah,
That's Diamond Dallas Page. Okay.
he's the one that's actually in the match.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
The one who's meant to be doing the fighting. The nemesis
Yes.
that we've established. Platt tries to tentatively retrieve the belt to the applause of the crowd. And that's it.
Guess you've got your job back, I guess.
Yeah, an incredible end.
And $1 million.
to 6 minutes of wrestling. And then
Yes.
gross out comedy for the most part.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Paul.
It was a hell of a thing. So, yeah, Arquette and Beefy Khan just beat up a private citizen and Joe Pantoliano and throw him into a crowd who presumably kill him.
Yeah. I also like at the end he's like, my tag team partner, one of you. And you can just be the manager, I guess.
Yeah. You look better in a suit, so you be the manager. And you be Yeah, you be
Yeah, you're a cop guy. That goes with my king gimmick,
Yeah.
I guess.
You're a cop guy. You've both got girlfriends now. They take time out of their glamorous and exciting new lives to go and beat up the store owner from the beginning.
Can you say it now? I'm your bitch and you're my daddy?
Roll right off his tongue. That should teach you to be nice to kids.
The end.
I know.
Closure. I was really anxious that they weren't going to get revenge against that guy.
You know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine, Paul.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
If you squint hard enough, you will see that everything is fine.
You'll see it's a film.
You'll see that this is actually le cinema. So, what did you make of this movie that you've long known about but not seen?
I think it might be the worst film I've brought to you.
Wow. That's exciting as an idea. You might be right. Let me have a look. The list.
I want to both approach this from someone who is going to heavily defend the art form that is professional wrestling, but also someone that just needs to look at it as a piece of film. And I think I can, I'm trying to look at it both through the lens of somebody who is probably just looking to defend the art form of professional wrestling, but also just needing to look at it as a piece of film media. And both of those are kind of conflicting with one another, but also coming to the same conclusions.
Yeah, it's really inexplicable. Because yes, what we have here, and part of me really loves that they did the publicity thing because it really bespeaks a time when the ultimate expression of a thing was the movie. The movie adaptation of your thing, whether that thing is a sport or, a TV show or a trading card game.
Or anything.
A toy, exactly. The ultimate form is there's a movie. And I don't know if movies get that same sense of reverence as they used to. In a thing, they always, used to say at the end, oh yeah, they're making a movie of the whole thing. And that's like demonstrating the legitimacy of the experience.
Yeah, now a major motion picture.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the most iconic thing. And it really bespeaks, let's just fucking throw our entire sport out of the window because we've got to prioritize the movie.
You know what? It's actually fascinating that they did both, right? This is clearly a film not made by wrestlers and who seemingly hate the sport. Like they're lampooning it to the umpth degree, but yet afterwards they tried to use it as a way to advertise the thing that they're paying out. It's a fascinating strategy. It's what it is.
Oh god, and I want to talk about the reality of the film, and then what was the other thing? Well, let's talk about the reality of the film because this is I'm very aware. I've only really seen one wrestling match in my entire life, and
good.
I was aware of the fact that there is a meta-ness to it, that the managers and the people actually who run the wrestling thing are kind of involved in the storylines. So there's kind of a self-awareness there with the sport being involved in the thing. You mentioned yourself that the head of WWE is a bit of a character themselves and has a bit of a reputation.
It's a fascinating thing because you're looking at an art form, a piece of media that until the 90s, the early 90s, that is, when it was embroiled in a big steroid scandal, that kept up this idea of kayfabe, which is this idea of everything is real, we don't talk about it, we keep up the facade, right? And the only reason that broke is Vince McMahon, who was the head of the WWF, decided to break that on because he was going through a big steroid scandal that actually had big, wide media attention. And he had to, on the stand, basically be like, hey, it's fake. And was part of his way of kind of like getting out of it. But since then, it's always been very clear that it is fake is the wrong word, that it is predetermined, right? But like, I can tell you as somebody who has gone to a training session and has taken one bump in that ring, it fucking hurts, dude. It fucking hurts.
Oh, sure, no. It's definitely a sport, and a performance art that has a very physical aspect to it.
Yeah, and as far as like the storylines are concerned, like, yeah, it's very much... It is a weird thing where I feel like the best storylines and the best written characters and such are often these people dialing up their personality to 12. It's the very classic thing of like, don't stray too far from who you are as an individual, and that's what shines through.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't know if that answered what you were asking, but yeah.
So, no, it does, because like we're dealing with the reality of this movie, because Joe Pantoliano's character is not necessarily, out of place within the narratives of these wrestling things. You could have a scumbag kind of behind the scenes guy who is, manipulating events.
Yeah, well, he is a real life. There is a real life analogy to him, and that person was originally going to be in the film as that character, but in the real WCW, they had just been fired from the company a few months beforehand.
Ah, right. Well, there you go. So you've got that. You've got Oliver Platt telling the boys it's all fake, and I'm not who you think I am, which I thought was going to lead to him admitting that it was all arranged and that he was in on it, that he took the fall because he just didn't want to wrestle anymore. He wanted to just go get drunk. But no, apparently it is all fake, but they did really betray him and beat him up in the ring.
Yeah, and then every match from then on is just real. Everything from then on is like...
They buy back into the fantasy, having risen awareness of it, and it's very strange. It has, because the other thing that this really smacks of is that 90s thing and 80s thing, and sometimes still happens. It recently happened in that Mortal Kombat movie, the one filmed in Australia.
Yes. That I auditioned for, yes.
Is you have the characters from the thing that everybody loves, but you don't trust them to be relatable to the audience. So you introduce an audience surrogate character that people are going to sympathize with and like, and they will experience the actual thing. So in Mortal Kombat, you have like a new guy who's not a Mortal Kombat fighter, even though there are so many candidates in Mortal Kombat for like audience surrogate main character.
Yeah, it is the blank slate protagonist so that you can also superimpose yourself onto that character too. It's like, oh, that's me. I'm experiencing it as well.
Exactly, and it's like, when I was a kid, it's the little kid who's the main character in a Power Rangers movie. Turbo,
You're thinking
the Power
of Turbo.
Rangers movie.
Turbo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that kid, and it's like, no, why? Why this kid? I want the Power Rangers. Like, they were good enough for me to relate to on screen. What on the TV screen? Why do I need an audience surrogate kid? Why do I need Courtney Cox and Masters of the Universe? It's just...
It is that odd thing that you kind of touched on, where it's like, as soon as you make it the movie version, the movie thing, like, oh, we need Matthew Broderick in Godzilla.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. There needs to be the movie. And this very much feels like there is the movie, which is a bland, naughty stoner comedy kind of thing. And then just the thing you're making the movie about, which slots into the gaps where you put things like action sequences or... just sports movie moments, just whatever you're making the movie about, you can slot them in at these regular intervals.
It feels like it was set up to fail, yet I legitimately believe that they thought it was going to succeed. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why, because the intention from the very beginning seemed to throw wrestling under a bus.
Well, this movie is very early. This is the year 2000, and yet it feels very much like a noughties film. In as much as it does fit into things like Dude, Where's My Car? And the sort of just... I don't know where the stoner comedy vehicle, the gross-out comedy vehicle was at in 2000. When had the Farley Brothers started?
It feels like a weird crossroad, right? Where they're trying to do a gross-out comedy, but they're also trying to do a road trip comedy. And they keep flirting between the two of them.
Yeah, they just want to appeal to as many teens as possible, and for whatever reason, and this is the downfall of so many adaptations, and it will be the downfall of so many more, they didn't have faith in the material.
No.
And they didn't get to the bottom of what it is people like about this. People like the idea of craziness, and there's bits of that, as we'll come to in Quickfire. There's little hints of, like, the craziness of a wrestling match, of just, the only one I watched involved a moment where there was a huge fight where a whole bunch of people were going to the ring when suddenly the fight broke out between them before they got there. It was going to be like a big 5 versus 5 guys, and they just started fighting on the way to the ring. And two guys ended up wrestling in an elevator. They got pushed into a service goods elevator and just disappeared. And there was no cameraman in there, so the narrators just had to say, somewhere in this building, these two guys are still fighting. It was AEW. It was All Elite Wrestling.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't have the memory to know where that was. So
it was about a year ago, and it was All Elite Wrestling. My flatmate was watching it, and so I just came in and ended up watching parts of it. But yeah, the point is, it's crazy. Anything can happen, weird stuff, and there's twists and surprises. But they just had no faith in that, so they were like, no, we're going to get teens involved in this storyline involving two idiots trying to make good. And Oliver Platt is a deadbeat trying to do right by his family, and that's what's going to carry us along. It's very strange.
It's wholeheartedly just peculiar to me, because it just feels like they understand, at least partially, that wrestling can be inherently theatrical, and it's bombastic, and it's wild, and there's a whole bunch of times when you're suspending disbelief, and you're buying in. There's a contract as a wrestling fan that you're buying into the fantasy. It's weird that they understood that and yet still didn't know how to lean into the absurdity without paying it out at the same time.
I can only imagine just being deeply disappointed with this if I was a wrestling fan. I try to think of it as if it were a Mortal Kombat movie and they treated the characters of Mortal Kombat like this, and it's like, oh, okay, so you're not going to get into any of their stories. You're just going to catch glimpses of the fighters as they run around in the background and sometimes do a move. I don't know. It's inexplicable to me. It feels like such an easy do to make a movie, but it hasn't been done, right? There hasn't been a subsequent really good movie about set within the universe, because obviously you've got The Wrestler, the Darren Aronofsky film, which is very good.
Yes.
But that's not telling you a storyline from a wrestling match. I can't see why.
Fighting with My Family is probably the closest.
Yes, but again, a behind the scenes kind of movie, right?
Yes.
About I haven't seen
but
it.
also
I'm aware of it.
They do a weird thing at the end where they act as if they're the big final match that is the character finally getting a chance to work for the big company. It's presented as if it's real, as in they act. It's odd. It's odd, but it's probably the closest that they've come. Look, I will say that it is difficult, because I think there's an argument to be made that you maybe can't make a film like that, and that's partially why it doesn't work, because it already is there's so many elements of professional wrestling that is a movie in itself anyway. So I feel like it's difficult to do a movie that acknowledges that the wrestling is performative without it being a behind the scenes look, because you either need to do a story in the universe of a wrestling thing, then we all have to accept that it is real, or you have to do the behind the scenes look.
What if you did do that? What if you did just fully ask the audience to suspend disbelief, get rid of the ring and the audience, and just have an actual wrestling storyline play out within a cinematic world? In which, because, like you identified, the best scene in this movie is when everyone just starts fighting each other inside of a grocery store. This was an opportunity to do stuff like that. Just, have a, subway station when suddenly two of our characters see each other and decide to start having a wrestling bout in there and start hitting each other with various things. And it's like an action movie, but with family drama and soap opera thrown in. That's what's driving the story. Yeah.
There's a TV show that has done exactly that. There's a wrestling company in Mexico called Lucha Underground that basically took the best parts of wrestling and supernatural soap opera and smash them together. It's literally some characters have superpowers, and
that's what you need.
Oh, and it's real, and I think sometimes they snatch the soul. It's very Mortal Kombat-y in its execution, and it's really well received.
Yeah.
Oh,
you have to go crazy with this. You can't make a button-down, straightforward, 3-act narrative movie about wrestling. You have to go crazy. You have to make something really eccentric and bold, because you are appealing to teenagers, and they are going to respond to stuff like that. Get a bit avant-garde with your wrestling movie. Fuck it. What have you got to lose at this stage? You're a year out from bankruptcy. I guess they weren't.
And the weird thing is back then, especially in the late 90s and 2000s, is that they identified their target demographic as the 18 to 35 male. So they're actually at that point appealing to adult men.
That really super is not what they did with this movie.
No, not. I remember there's so many times throughout this film where there's a joke, quote unquote, happening, and my first question, and I've written it down many times, is who is this for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, who's this line for? Who's this joke for at this point? And it feels like an executive's idea of what their target demographic wants.
No, absolutely. It's a movie that was designed by people who just didn't really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about things we actually liked about this film then. Let's pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about quickfires. Quickfire.
I mean, the first one is something that I already mentioned, but the brain freeze dream sequence is just, I loved the entire thing. Also the creativity involved in having the basically what amounts to like a country 7-Eleven store have like a squishy floor. The ropes are made. You've got the corridors, the aisles blocking off the ring as well. The trippy blues and purples and greens, and just an insight into David, this character who lives and breathes wrestling. So they're imagining their life through, like, what I thought is they were going to pull out to these two just having an argument with each other, but through his brain, he was viewing it as like a massive dramatic wrestling sequence. And I thought if the film was going to be this, I might get some like really elative enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, because Arquette, it's the bit where his performance is at, like, it's funniest because it's at its biggest. He never really goes that big again.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just something really quite entertaining about it, and the guy playing the grocery store clerk is really good. Like,
and he understands the film he's in there.
Exactly. Like, there's a moment. It's just a moment there where suddenly everything seems to be working well.
What do you want, boob?
Purple sugar slush. King size.
That'll be $1.26.
$1.25. That's all I got.
That's just not good enough now, is it, you little boob? You little Jimmy the King fan boob? Oh, Jimmy King's a big fat loser. He's a sissy in tights. There's a lot of glare coming off that dome of yours. Squirrel nuts! Listen, sunshine, I'm gonna open up a fresh can of whoop ass on you, boy. Yeah! Bring it on!
Definitely the best scene of the movie. And Randy Savage shows up, and I mean, I just like, I know I've seen him in a few things. He's shown up in a few different capacities in my life, and I just like the guy. He has an entertaining and exciting stage presence that I enjoy. I like his voice and his face.
Randy Savage was so far ahead of his time. If you look up any, they're called promos, but if you look up any interview that Randy Savage did in character during his time in the early 90s, it's a fucking, like, have you seen his Cream of the Crop?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
He just spends the entire, like, he's talking about the cream of the crop, and he keeps just appearing out of nowhere, these little cream cup sachets, and he just gets like 6 of them. And he doesn't like mention them. They just keep appearing, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Really charming. So yeah, I really enjoyed him being here. And just to finish off on that sequence, the opening sequence, the initial pan over the convenience store and down to our characters really did put me in a certain space, like a sort of American 90s noughties feeling, which I enjoyed. And the nature of this convenience store. I love movies set around late night businesses. There's just something kind of romantic about it.
The neon signs flickering, and you've got the sound of the buzz. Yeah,
exactly. It's just, there's something very charming about it. And finally on that sequence, there's this moment where David Arquette wants to complain about his drink. I can't remember why, to get another one or something, but he goes in and he sticks his finger up his ass and then goes in order to get him to smell it so that it smells like the milkshake is bad.
Good ruse, I guess.
It's an interesting ruse. It's kind of like, scumbag Sherlock stuff, which, it's just, he's the master of getting horrible things out. There's something quite cool to that, the idea of he's a scummy character, but he's savvy in his own way. But the reason I've got a quickfire here is because he says, it smells like an ass. And then I can't remember who says it, but it's like, like a bitter, sour ass.
Yeah, that's the store clerk. He's like, clerk. Like,
Oh, it's awful. Ah, I know.
Oh, smells like my ass, right?
Yeah,
Maybe your ass. It's weird, huh?
like a bitter, sour ass. Oh.
I like that. I like that he was involved in this moment and that they played with this. But it felt like the two of them were riffing on this and kind of playing with it a bit, and I enjoyed that.
This will be my other broader note. But all the wrestling itself and the production values around how a wrestling show would be set up was all pretty accurate, to be honest. Like they had the proper commentators, the legitimate referees, the logos, the pyrotechnics, like the dim, dingy lighting that WCW incorporated during that time period as well. Like everything was pretty authentic, which, you know, obviously that's part of it that goes, yeah, sure, this is like a way to highlight WCW and push people towards that. I'm fine with that because they're leaning into it, and so it feels authentic. And the wrestling itself, you're using legitimate wrestlers, so of course they're going to be able to choreograph that to perfection. And as a wrestling fan, I went, yeah, awesome, this part I can go, this felt like where a lot of the time and effort was put into, because it's utilizing the people who know the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And those sequences, brief as they were, did feel quite exciting and fun. And it was also really cute to see how excited the guys were about going to the wrestling match. You know, they're in their van, they're doing their horrible job, and one of them just says something like, "It's all right, though, because tonight is Friday night," you know, whatever it is. And it's just the idea that they're excited about their Friday night at the wrestling.
Yeah, Monday Night Nitro.
Well, I'm sure that in this event they talked about Friday night. I remember noting it. Was it definitely
This was Monday night because Nitro is the show that they're seeing.
Okay, interesting. I wonder if they got that wrong.
We'll double check. Yeah,
we will double check.
But who cares, bro? What's tonight? Monday Night Nitro! Live, baby, live. Live, baby, live.
But yeah, it was cute to see them so excited about seeing the show. And then, as my quick thing then, the constant drip of the sewage pipe as they're eating their burgers is fucking horrific. In a really visceral, kind of horrible way. Like, it just has this constant, steady leak that is, like, flowing over the pipe, and it was really unpleasant in a way that looked like it felt new. You know, you could have easily just had, like, a brown drip of liquid, but no, there was, like, an ooze coming out. It was, it was horrible, and I have to appreciate the effort they put into that.
It's the one brief moment of sincerity that the film had, and this is where Jimmy King finally, he's sitting down with the other two in the trailer, and it's just clicked to him that they think everything is real, as real as it can be, and he sits there and he just has a very somber moment. He's like,
Listen to me, you pair of dumb shits. I ain't no king. There never was no king. The king is a fake creation, okay? I ain't even a has-been. I'm a never was. You got it? Stupid? Now get the hell out of my house. I'm done with you. Get out!
And they shut up and listen, and it's this really sincere, and it's a loud space to breathe as well. And I went, there is a film in there alone that I thought it would be like a good way for the characters to make, because they never really learn that it's pre-organized.
Yeah.
They never learn that.
They'll have to come to terms with that if they're going to work in this now. But yes,
well, maybe not, since all of them are killing each other at the end. But it's
so it seems, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's just moments where they're allowed to like kind of just not always overact, and Oliver was Jimmy King was able to just deliver that monologue of sorts. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I enjoyed that. And pertaining to that initial fight that they have, two things there. I enjoyed the beam seats that they have, the really horrible seats they have that have like a bit of scaffolding that like forces them to crouch down.
His uncle said that was good seats.
I like that because it's like it was an imaginatively horrible seat.
Yes.
Like, I've not seen a bad seat in a venue quite like that, which I enjoyed. And then I did enjoy David Arquette screaming, you know, when he's tried to like yell stuff about the match. Like his voice quite lent itself to him screaming. And of course, Dewey never screams, and that's my main experience of David Arquette. So it's quite fun to just hear him be this lame kid just yelling stuff at the stage.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, which, you know, there are some of those that come to the shows that we're at, so that's very in keeping. Some people that are able to just screech for 2 hours straight and apparently not damage their vocal cords. I'm quite envious.
Yeah, well, he managed to articulate the lameness of his character into his yell, which I thought was really good.
Yeah. The hacking kid character, I know it was a weird kind of non sequitur line because they established this thing where he has a shitty father and he says, I'm not allowed I didn't. What does he say? It's like at first he says I didn't cry about it because crying's for pussies. And then of course David Arquette says, well, I'm not a pussy and I found it upsetting. And then we kind of leave that. And then
it's puking, isn't it? Weirdly puking. He says that nobody.
It's puking. That's right.
Yeah.
Puking's for pussies. And so you're like, oh, that's a bit weird and toxic. And they forget about that. And then about 10 minutes later. There's a line who's like, I need to get off the phone. My dad said yakking is for pussies. Like yakking on and I was just like, it's such a weird non sequitur.
Yeah,
it's like,
that is
everything's
quite...
yakking on the phone is for pussies. That's right.
The idea that dad is just objects to everything as being toxic. Like it's a good satire of toxic masculinity. I like that.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't just do it for the cheap laugh, which was
indeed.
Nice.
Well, speaking of a cheap laugh, I liked. Look, I enjoyed the nuns actually being on board with singing Van Halen. It was cute, I think, and it cuts
fair.
back to them, and they've been like because they introduce it, and you feel like the joke is they say. They've been singing hymns together, and then he says, hey, have you ladies ever heard of Van Halen? And then they just, start performing Riding with the Devil, and you just expect it'll cut to them just, like, being thrown out of the van or, walking along the side of the street. But no, the nuns get into it and start singing as well. And it's part of the same joke as the old lady, acting like a young fan, but this time it was cute.
Hallelujah. Hey, do you guys know any Van Halen?
No? No? No. No.
Running with the devil.
Running with the devil.
Break it down, Mama.
I live my life like there's no tomorrow. All I've got, I had to steal.
And it feels less ageist and at the expense of the nuns.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't feel like they're making fun of the nuns. It just feels like they're, showing them as being on board and not too serious about their beliefs, and that was cute.
Yeah. There was a lovely it was just a very dexterous moment by one of, I forget if it was Khan or David Arquette, but when they've tackled Diamond Dallas Page, when they're waiting for Oliver Platt to come out of the porta potty, and there's the ruckus that's happening, and they've both got the wrestler on the ground. No, Khan has Diamond Dallas Page on the ground, and then from out of nowhere, David Arquette slides on the ground, and like a jigsaw puzzle just fits with his legs around the neck of and I'm like, that was superbly done.
My note says that it was Pantoliano they had on the floor, and that it was Khan who slid into it. But I also wrote it down because what I also loved about it was the little coquettish squeak noise as he skidded in. It was quite just a very, what's the word, sort of slight move of just coming in. But it was, I agreed. It was very impressive.
I was like, was that your first take? I'd be very elated if that was my first take.
If you didn't kick him in the face the first 6 times. That's, very smooth. I like that a lot. I like the bit where they're talking to, I think it's meant to be, is it King's parents they're speaking to?
Where he took their truck.
That's right, and he's speaking to them, and he's talking about how he knows everything about them because of their because they follow the plot lines that have happened in wrestling.
He read his autobiography. Yeah,
that's it. So he's convinced he knows everything about them, and he just throws in the line. And then after you died in a plane crash, I like that. I like that he's still committed to it without putting that together. It was a fun.
And he worked 2 jobs
joke.
for you. Yeah. I love when they're going through when they're back going to their roots in Wyoming, and they're trying to find the posse to come with Jimmy King to the ring in the final encounter. Just commenting on absurd gimmicks that happen in wrestling. It's the Siamese twins. Satan's Siamese twins, and then he's like, you don't just have 3 legs, do you? They're like, oh. But it's just clearly 2 guys that are fitting both legs into. And I just think, how would that work in a wrestling match? I would love to watch that match and see the choreography behind that.
Those 2 were giving it so large as well in terms of their performances. They were really cheesing the crap out of it. The guys playing the twins.
Yeah. And it is like a wonderful comment on just the absurd kind of character choices that you'll either come up with yourself or you'll be asked to do. Where it's like, yep, you're this now. Make it work. It's like, oh, I guess. I'll try.
Pantaleano is putting down King, talking about what a bad dude he is. And he does an impression of his persona, and I enjoyed that because it was spot on and it was fun.
Hey, I'm Jimmy King. I will rule you. I will reign supreme. As soon as I finish these here beers.
Because the persona hasn't been great. Like, the King persona in general is not very memorable. It's the only wrestler seemingly in the movie who has a gimmick, apart from the fireman, and eventually him as the cop. But
a very overt gimmick in any case, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, absolutely. And so it was just, it was fun to see that persona being torn apart.
Yeah. Oh, there was a moment. It's in the bathroom before Jimmy King is about to go out for the final match, and that's when Khan comes in wearing his red suit for the first time.
Yeah.
And King just has this deathly 1,000-yard stare where he's just looking into absolutely nothing, and he's barely responding to Khan. I went, I felt that in the depths of my... This is the man that has, he is now in a business. Are they going to be real fighting? Are they going to be fake fighting? Are they going to be real fake fighting? Don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm coming out with a fireman and a woman who... I don't know what her gimmick was, but it was a man that had no idea what was about to happen and was terrified.
Yeah, absolutely. That was good. And I have two plot lines that I quite liked. One of them only pertains to him, but based on what you know about his character, becomes funny, is when they find him in the sewers, and the guy just says,
found him in drainage tunnel 14. He didn't want to leave.
I found that cute, the idea that he just was happy in there. He was happy in drainage tunnel 14.
Let me be.
Finally, I found where I belong.
This is my address.
And then, there's a moment where they're all very tense. The old man has been beaten up, and they're in the hospital. And, Platt is not looking happy. He's looking very edgy and nervous. And one of them goes off to make a phone call. So McGowan, David Arquette goes to do something, I think, to see him. And Scott Kahn says he's going to go get a Butterfinger. Butterfinger. And Platt just gets up and stops Kahn very earnestly and says, "Hey, can I have a Butterfinger too?"
I'm going to get him a Butterfinger.
I have to use the little girl's room.
Can I have a Butterfinger too?
I enjoyed that.
It's very lovely. It's very sincere.
Anticlimactic, yeah.
I loved just some of the delivery of Khan's. I can't remember whose line it was actually. It's one of the two of them where they're talking about the shitty seats that they have with the big banister above them, and I think it's David that says, my uncle got these seats. He said he'd give his right nut to have seats like these, and Khan just waits a moment. And he goes, well, kick him in his left nut when you see him next. Thanks.
I think that's the other way around, because then Khan then says the line, "Hey, is it still your left nut if you only have one?" And then Arquette's the one who gets the sort of confused, "I'm thinking about that" face.
Yeah, it's just, look, they're interchangeable white men at this point.
Oh, they definitely are. Jesus Christ, they are. There is a bit in the soundtrack that keeps recurring, which really caught me off guard because it sounds like Thomas Newman's soundtrack to American Beauty.
Ow! Jesus!
How's your diddly?
Just comes in every now and then, and it's like,
I reckon it was a direct homage.
It must have been. It was the year before, so I guess the director was a fan of American Beauty.
You know what? Because it just felt so out of place, I loved when they've clearly isolated some key sound effects inside the ring, like, hitting the ropes or jumping off a turnbuckle. And most of them make sense, but obviously it would just sound a little weird because you're hearing them in isolation. But one of them was strange where the sound effect for the ref hitting the mat for the 1, 2, 3 was just this clanging metal sound. And I just found it very... charming. It's just the emotion, the ring is solid metal, so just clang, clang. It's great.
That's cute.
2, 3.
When they're doing the tryouts for his posse, one of the guys says that wrestling is fake. He then gets punched, and he rolls over end over end, rigid, as a board. And it's just, it was a very good little stunt from the guy who had to get punched.
Yes. So this was in the blooper reel that was in the post credits. Not the
I only
post
watched
credits,
half
during
of
the
that.
credits.
I watched far enough to watch Randy Savage get punched by Oliver Platt, and then I stopped.
That was one of my quick fires. It's that they showed Randy Savage legitimately getting punched by Oliver Platt.
Right.
It was a legitimate punch. And it felt very Blade Runner with Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling, because Harrison Ford punches him in the face and he looks mortified by it.
Sorry, I stepped on your toe there. I thought you were adding something about mine. And so I was like, oh, you mean the one where this happened? And no, you were there for that. Sorry.
No, you know, the thing that was better about it, you know.
Sorry about that. Just jumping all over you.
No, it's fine. It's good.
All right, Olivia Platt, when, like Laurence Olivier. Platt. He's leaving, and David Arquette comes in the police car in order to say he can't come. And Oliver Platt just thanks him for what he's done, and that was quite sincere.
Really wish I could go with you, but I can't. Sorry. I feel like I let you down. Morty, I understand. Really, I do. And I want to tell you something. No matter what happens in Vegas, I just can't thank you enough for what you and your partner did for me. All right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I liked it. And it was sweet because he was like, don't worry about not being able to come with me. You know, I get it. Which, again, was just not expected, because this is the bit where you do, I thought we had something, man. I thought we were family. You know, kind of. But they kind of had that moment earlier. So at this stage, it's just like, don't worry about it. You do what you got to do. You know, and thanks. And that was sweet. It felt real.
It did make me think, I was like, oh, are they actually going to keep him away for the whole thing? Or are they going to shoehorn him like back in? Because I thought, maybe they are just writing off his storyline and he's just going to become a cop, and it'll be a really sad ending for David Arquette. There's a lovely quote that I've heard once before in a comic, which is just
with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. Yep. Sex without love is just pro wrestling. Right. And so with that quote in mind, there's just something oddly charming, or at least engaging, about just David Arquette just not understanding that Sasha's trying to engage in a bit of coitus with him. And he's like, oh yeah, let's take it to the bedroom. Yeah, keep wrestling, right? Yeah, and it's just lovely to see. Yeah, I'll show you it. Like, yeah, you can show me a move, can't you? Yeah, I'll show you a move. It's just very.
It is cute. It's cute to see a love scene sort of play out with playing off of the guy's naivety about the whole thing. It's kind of sweet. It was weird. It was a weird moment, and one that I would be very interested to see how it plays into the overall trend of portrayal of sex in like American comedies over the past 40 years since Revenge of the Nerds. Revenge of the Nerds is the worst case scenario, 1980s, where women were deprived of agency, through to kind of weird eccentric consent, where it's like, hey, I'm kind of into this because it's weird, Freddy Got Fingered style, through to wherever the fuck we are now.
Well, and it doesn't, and it, like in hindsight, it's also gross anyway, because like she's only doing all that because she was ordered to by a sleazy manager man as well. So it's like, okay. I think my last one is just, I loved Oliver Platt. Like, you can see him just in the moment trying to like give them their wrestling names. Like, he's the Law, John Swinston. It's just great to see him like working off the top. Like, play it off.
Yeah. Here's the thing. They are credited by those names in the Wikipedia thing, and I did prepare my notes before I watched the movie. I never read the plot summary, of course, but I was going for it. I was just preparing notes. And it said, he's playing, whatever first name, nickname that Oliver Platt came up with, surname. And I'm aware of David Arquette wrestling for the publicity. So I thought this movie was about David Arquette becoming a really good wrestle guy. That's just what I thought it was about. So I was really surprised that really it was just like Bart and Lisa trying to get Krusty the Clown to find his mojo. Like,
yes!
Getting Bette Midler on board. Like, I was very surprised that that's what this movie was.
I didn't get my David Arquette story.
The true story. Well, what is this movie? Have you seen it? No One Can Kill David Arquette or something like that.
You've stumbled on my one better thing, Paul.
Okay, let's talk about that in a moment. Okay, we'll get to that. So, yeah, that pretty much does it. I've checked the OG team. No one has replied, which doesn't bode well for our next episode either.
Well, I can give you some OG team, actually, because I took the liberty of Bowser. I took the liberty of reaching out to my wrestling people, and I just said, hey, here's the podcast, here's etc. Do you have any one better things?
Ooh, are we gonna get some wrestling fans listening?
You get some wrestling fans. So I'll use their wrestling monikers actually. So
okay.
Wham Bam Bellows says it was great. There was a 4-post massacre and it wasn't even a pay-per-view.
That absolutely was.
There was. And the Screamin' Demon, Joey Graham, says, I didn't even know this existed.
Oh no. Uh-oh.
I just love that. There was a wrestler that had no idea this existed until I mentioned it to them, and I was so. And that's all I've got from you from the OG team.
Excellent, thank you, OG team. Oh man, if our OG team can get burlier, then that would be very much my kink.
Just all of you flood your local wrestling school and just all jump in.
Yeah, if all of you can take up becoming burly people. I know that one member of the OG team is working on it.
Yeah, cite Oliver Platt as your inspiration.
Exactly. And you will be welcomed in every town in this land. And that's pretty much going to do it. Let's talk about the one better thing. The one better thing.
Better thing.
And I think let's go to you first.
Yeah, so you kind of hit the nail on the head earlier, because obviously the obvious recommendation is going to be something like 2008's The Wrestler, but yes. I thought that I would stray away from that and go for at least what is the closest thing to a sequel to Ready to Rumble, but for all the kind of wrong reasons. So there was a documentary that came out just a couple of years ago called You Cannot Kill David Arquette, I think is the exact title. You'll probably have a title in front of me. But essentially, it came about because in 2019, or a bit previous to that, because David Arquette is actually a lifelong wrestling fan. And one of his biggest regrets is that he has become synonymous with as you kind of mentioned, one of the reasons for the downfall of an entire company, but also for a film that is very much viewed as lampooning, disrespecting, and kind of throwing professional wrestling under the bus. And as a fan, he hated that. So
yeah, sure, of course.
He looked to basically become a pro wrestler for real and to kind of prove himself, and also as a way of apologizing to the community that he loves. So it's a documentary that's kind of part Sunset Boulevard, part The Wrestler, and just it's actually quite sad. It's a wrestler who, because at this point, David Arquette is in his late 40s.
Right.
Because right now he's 51. So he would have been about 48, 49. He participated in a lot of kind of what are called death matches, which just like very bloody, very visceral, very dangerous. And there's a point in an actual match where one of the wrestlers actually, because they use fluorescent light tubes, they're a way to break, and they've used them in like gross matches. But there's a pointed end that gets literally stabbed into his jugular. And
oh my God.
He has to leave mid-match because he's just like, he's profusely bleeding. He's dying, basically. Jesus. And he has to leave before it gets worse. And it's just, it's kind of a sad, worrying portrayal of a man who's trying to atone for something that he feels very bad about 20 years after the fact.
Yeah, Jesus.
And it's also a very just fantastic insight into the independent wrestling industry as well. So I think it's also a much clearer insight into the business if that's something that you're interested in. And also just to see David Arquette in something that's not that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, that's really good. I really like that. And yes, like you say, yeah, I'd be very interested in seeing that because it's an interesting legacy and a very upsetting story. So it'd be good to see how that sort of pans out. And then, yeah, like you say, the most obvious choices are The Wrestler and Fighting With My Family, as we've said. Yes. I'm going to go with the only other wrestling movie I've really seen. And I could go with a movie where a professional wrestler is like, in the movie, because they have made a lot of crossovers to action movies. But I'm going to go with something that is about wrestling. And I'm going to go with 2011's Win-Win, which is a movie by Tom McCarthy, who also directed Spotlight. And it says Paul Giamatti is a wrestling coach who ends up working with, is it Michael Cera? what it was, but I'm not seeing him in the cast list here. Anyway, he's working with this kid who's no, I guess it's not. It's just he's a wrestling coach, and it's just about what wrestling means to the boys. And he also has his own intrigue going on because like he ends up working with the grandson of someone that he has done wrong by. So there's Alex Schaefer was the name of the kid, and it's just it's a fun movie. I really enjoyed it. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember enjoying it. And McCarthy is generally quite good at handling very character-driven drama.
Win-win. It's called.
Win-win 2011.
Win-win.
And it doesn't have the high camp value of the WWE, but it is still a very affecting character-driven comedy in a sort of Alexander Payne style. I think I would describe it as.
I'll have to add that to the list.
Yeah, I'm very fond of it. That was the one better thing.
Better thing.
The one better thing. Sean, how can people find out about you and your endeavors?
Oh, so, if you don't know by now, I'm going to tell you again, because that's what we do here. I am a member of Roll to Cast. That is ROLE, Roll to Cast. So the primary thing I do is I play role-playing games. So Roll to Cast is a TTRPG variety podcast where we play a different role-playing game every season. We endeavor to introduce people to the wide world of TTRPGs outside of Dungeons and Dragons. So we've done Cyberpunk Red, Vampire the Masquerade, Kids on Bikes. We're currently playing through a Starfinder campaign, which I am running. We're on season 8. I guess a couple of other things I would say is that if you happen to be in the Adelaide area or enjoy the Adelaide Fringe Festival, being at one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fringe festival in the world, we're doing Roll to Cast Live. So we're actually doing 4 live shows for the first time, where we'll be playing 4 games over 4 Saturdays, each of us taking the GM's chair. And we're going to be doing it live in front of real-life human beings for the first time in February and March, which is going to be fun. So we're in pre-production for that. And the only other thing I'll say, just because it's in the spirit of this here episode, is I've talked about being a part of a wrestling company. If you want, if you have Fight TV, FITE, there is actually an international touring company called World Series Wrestling, where if you get the Adelaide leg of a tour, I'm on commentary for that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Or if you just jump on YouTube, Wrestle Rampage is the Adelaide-based company that I'm a part of. I'm both the ring announcer and the commentator for, have been for the last 2 years now. And I'm actually doing a show tomorrow, which will be, I don't know when that'll be in actual proper time, but maybe I've done it by the time this comes out. But yeah, so that's kind of me. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter at SeanMeansJohn. That's about it. That's me. I've said enough.
Amazing. Good stuff. Check out all of that stuff. It is all exceptional. When you're done with exceptional, come back here. It's OGT Pod and all of the places you can find it. Was also Quest Fantastic, Jen and the Film Critic. Stuff you can find in the comments of this particular episode. But the most important thing is that I'm Paul Rassel.
I'm just here for the fun.
And remember, the one good thing about Ready to Rumble is that David Arquette did eventually atone.